Hey, good evening.
As we
How are
say,
you, Dan?
Erev Tov, or Masa al Khair, or
Erev
Bonsoir.
Tov. Bonsoir, yes.
So last time we spoke, and last time we had the Morocco Israel event number 2, you were sitting in the United States. And where are you speaking to us from today?
I was actually already in Dubai, and
You're
this
in
is
Dubai.
my second event from Dubai, exactly. And I'm still jet lagging really hard. It's 10 p.m. over here.
More coffee. That's the common lesson of all of it. So
Indeed.
we welcome
How are you,
everybody.
Dan?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. We've got a lot of things cooking, which I'll update the crowd on. A lot of things in the
Beautiful.
Sharaka sphere that are exciting things that are happening, and that we're glad to share with everyone. But always moving forward and always building and always expanding our partnerships and our projects, and what we're doing to be able to expand the circle of peace and prosperity in the region, in this new Middle East that we're trying to build here.
Indeed, that's the agenda. So you want to tell us a little bit about Sharaka and what you guys have been up to since you mentioned it?
I'd be glad to. So, for those of you who are new to this series, it is installment deep dive number 3 of the Sharaka Morocco Israel Collaboration Hub, which we are doing in partnership with Shama Mijtali, Moroccan artist, entrepreneur, influencer, global shaper, and all around fantastic person, who has kindly partnered with us in order to promote Morocco Israel relations. Just a year, we launched the first one just a year after the signing of the normalization of the peace agreements between Morocco and Israel. We here at Sharaka are a non-profit, non-political, non-governmental organization founded by young leaders from the Gulf, from Israel, and now we have also a Moroccan component, in order to translate the peace agreements from the governmental diplomatic levels and to make them accessible to the people, make them to the benefit of really all the peoples, certainly in the countries that signed onto the Abraham Accords, but to show the rest of the region the benefits of working together and being able to translate to all parts of our societies, whether it's culture, which we'll discuss tonight, or the business world, or the academia world, or youth, or what have you. So that's a bit about Sharaka, just to give people an update of what we've been up to recently and where we're going in the next few weeks. Of course, last time we talked, we had just celebrated the Jewish holiday of Tu B'Shvat, which is like a Jewish environmental tree New Year day. And we had fantastic tree planting ceremonies in the UAE, in Bahrain, and in Israel, where we also connected with really something that all of these countries and Morocco hold dearly, and that's the environment, that's conservation, that's tree planting. If you follow our social media accounts, you will also see regular new episodes of the exciting TV show Yalla, which is produced by our good friend Havi Buzo. And the first episodes that were filmed in Israel were sponsored by Sharaka. And it's an exciting new show that's bringing positive content about the Middle East to a new generation of Arabic speakers, or Arabic understanders, at least, around the Middle East. So check out the Yalla show and all of the new episodes that were produced in Israel around the Miss Universe pageant, or with the stars of Fauda, or with the stars of Sharaka, including Shama and myself. I'm less of the star, but I was there. Those are the first episodes. A lot of our Sharaka people have been involved in a series of online lectures and conferences, some of them around International Holocaust Day recently, some of them just around explaining what's happening in this new region. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. We have started launching the Sharaka Scholars Forum. This is a public forum that brings together scholars and academics from around the Middle East together to openly support the Abraham Accords and to speak and to write about this. So if you are a scholar, if you're a professor, if you're a researcher, if you're involved in the academic world and you want to get involved in the Sharaka Scholars Forum, do reach out to us, to me, to Shama after the show or during the show. and we'd be glad to see how to get you involved. So pay attention to that. Some exciting things happening. We've got some amazing groups from the Gulf coming to Israel soon. And we've got also a really cool speaker delegation of Emiratis, Bahrainis, Moroccans, Israelis, and even Saudis heading to the United States in the very near future to speak about the Abraham Accords and this new region taking shape. So if you are in one of the areas of the Boston region, the South Florida region, or in the Midwest around Chicago, and you want to see how you can invite a Sharaka delegation to come speak, also feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be glad to try to work with you in that regard. And lastly, I will say next Thursday, same time, same place, same channel, we will have the next deep dive installment of the Morocco Israel Collaboration Hub together with Shama, where we will dive into the areas of youth and entrepreneurship. And so, Shama, I will now hand it back to you.
Indeed. Thank you, Dan. And I also want to add that you're also planning a delegation to Morocco that will focus on media, culture, and entrepreneurship. So if anyone wants to get involved, please contact us. And I want to welcome everybody to our third event in our Moroccan Israeli cooperation series, exploring the potential and possibilities for collaboration and synergy across different fields, sectors, and industries. And as Dan mentioned, the goal is to really advance peace, stability, and prosperity through economic interdependence and sociocultural collaboration and cooperation. And today is a very special, very meaningful, and also very painful day. Today is the International Day of Commemoration in memory of the victims of the Holocaust. It's a day that pays tribute to the victims of the Holocaust, and in Morocco, it actually reaffirms Moroccan protections of Jewish minorities and King Mohammed V's memory and legacy as righteous among the nations. King Mohammed V is known and celebrated, especially in Israel, for his role in protecting Jewish Moroccan minorities from the Vichy regime and the Nazis. And it's also a day where the international community comes together to condemn anti Semitism, racism, Islamophobia, and other forms of hate speech and intolerance that may lead to group targeted violence. The date marks the anniversary of the liberation of the Nazi concentration and extermination camp of Auschwitz-Birkenau by Soviet troops on January 27th, like this day, in 1945. And with that, I would like to welcome and introduce to you our first speaker, Ohad Merlin, who is a peace and interfaith activist and political analyst. Ohad develops educational content on social media about Israel and the Jewish people in Arabic for Middle Eastern and North African consumption. Ohad, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Beautiful. So, Ohad, thank you so much for joining us. Could you add some context about the Holocaust Remembrance Day and tell us about your work in translating that information in Arabic and making it accessible on Twitter and other social media platforms and engaging with the Arabic speaking audience on a really, really difficult topic that hasn't been covered in history textbooks across the MENA region?
Yeah, so thank you very much. It's great being here. Thanks for having me. And I really can't say enough to congratulate Sharaka for everything you guys do. As you mentioned, my name is Ohad. I consider myself as a bridge building activist on social media. I speak Arabic, I speak English, I also speak Farsi. And I would like to address the topic of Holocaust remembrance in the Arab world from three specific levels. The Arab world, Jewish identity, and what we can do as activists for peace. So as for the Arab world, I've been around social media and online media of the Arab world for a decade, maybe a bit more. And what I could see is of course, a lot of ignorance regarding the Holocaust. But even more than that, I mean, some deny the very existence, the very fact that it happened. Others, God forbid, admire Hitler for what he did. Some admire Hitler for the same Holocaust that they said never happened, which is also kind of weird. And we hear very, very few brave voices that speak out, condemn the Holocaust, condemn anti-Semitism, and the question really rises as why are these voices considered to be so brave? I mean, it's an event that happened. It's a bad thing that happened. Many people were killed. Millions were killed. And even if we try to remove the scope, the sense of the conflict today, it is still millions of people who died. And I always feel like it's as if the very speaking about the Holocaust shocks something in Arab identity of a lot of people that I've talked to or that I've seen, as if it's like some sort of a mechanism that says no, it couldn't happen, either because people love conspiracy theories and say Jews invented this, or because they believe that Jews deserve it, which is also very unfortunate. But as I said, we hear more and more voices that are there and that speak about it. We saw the delegation of sheikhs that came to Auschwitz 2 or 3 years ago. And also now on my feed, which I'll get to it on my Twitter feed, we'll see just a bit. People are listening a bit more. As for why is it so important to talk about it, there are great events in a nation's history that shape its collective personality or collective identity. And the Holocaust is a significant part of this collective identity of the Jewish people, wherever it is. People, took it to different schools of thought, different. Some people said, "Oh, this is why Zionism is needed." Some people say this is why Zionism is not needed. But you can't take it away of the context of affecting the lives of those who remained in the Jewish world. So once we put this forward, once people understand what the Shoah means, what the Holocaust means, I believe that they have a better gaze of what Jewish identity is, what the Jewish people have gone through. This means actually understanding our culture, understanding the identity, and from there it gets to getting closer to each other and build bridges between each other. And as for our place as activists, I believe that we have to create a discourse. We have to create to speak to each other. We have to make sure that the people know about this event. I myself, just today, I published a thread on my Twitter account, which is in Arabic. Everyone is invited to follow it at Merlin Ohad. It's in Arabic, and it got a lot of attention. As we speak, the numbers rise, but 95,000 people saw it on Twitter. And I just wrote, "What was the Holocaust?" in Arabic. It evoked a lot of people that were speaking about it. Of course, some people denied, some people, as I said, it really shook their personality, their identity. But people are talking about it more, and people are understanding more. And I believe that the Abraham Accords have this potential to create this impact, that people would understand this side of Jewish identity and Jewish history more, and this is how we can get even closer.
Thank you, Ad. And may we also say happy birthday to you today.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday. Ohad is celebrating his 30th birthday. And I invite you all to check out Ohad's Twitter account, because he has a lot of really useful content in Arabic on the Holocaust that you can just forward, retweet to spread more awareness about this day in particular. And with that, I would like to highlight that Because countering hate requires new bridges to be built and older cultures to shift, we are dedicating today to seeking and finding avenues in culture and the arts to advance cooperation and collaboration between the people of Morocco and Israel, who have long been separated but deeply long to return to one another. I always say that Morocco and Israel are almost mirror images of one another, and it only takes a visit from a Moroccan to Israel or an Israeli to Morocco for that picture to come to life and become clearer, and for them to realize the depth of similarities between the two. And we are supposed to be joined actually by the mayor of Essaouira, Tariq Othmani, but I know he's on the road, so I just need to check if he's in the room. Do you guys know if Tariq is with us? Don't think I see him. Okay, so we don't see him yet. So I will move ahead to introduce our next speaker, who is the head of the Ministry of Culture's Department for National Libraries and Archives in Morocco. Madame Latifa Muftakir, I believe she is in the room with us. Latifa, can you see us? Beautiful. Can you hear us? Check
Yes.
your
Good
mic.
evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Latifa. How are you?
How are you?
Good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us and making time for our discussion. Madame Latifa, we would love to have your expertise and your insights on telling us a little bit about the history of the Moroccan Israeli cultural context, because it's a very important, I would say, even the backbone of the Moroccan Israeli relationship is culture. So if you can introduce us a little bit to that context and walk us through why is it historic to reestablish the relationship officially between Morocco and Israel and to work on furthering our cultural relationship.
Okay, I'm glad to be with you tonight and to contribute to this debate with several actors from the cultural world. I think the subject is in fact of a great importance and has a prominent place in the action plan of the Ministry of Culture of Morocco. I would like, first of all, to express our satisfaction with the signing last December of a cultural agreement between our two countries. This agreement, which will undoubtedly strengthen ties and open up promising prospects. I will start for a little historical background, as asked by Shama. The recognition of Morocco's plural identity in the 2011 constitution, which embodies the Hebrew tributary as a part of Morocco's culture and historical heritage. I believe now it's necessary to continue to deepen our cooperation links. And in this perspective on concretizing, excuse my average English, and in this perspective of concretizing.
I'll just add, your average English is better than my Arabic or French, so don't apologize for a second.
Indeed, I can confirm that.
Okay, thank you. And in this perspective of concretizing this will, the ministry has set up an ambitious cooperation program, which involves different aspects of culture, targeting the arts, heritage, books, libraries, trainings also. So, as I said, there is a whole program of cooperation in different fields. With regards, for example, with regard to the arts, it's planned to organize an exhibition bringing together some 40 artists, illustrators, and cartoonists on the theme of daily life in both countries. It's a traveling exhibition that will tour and go around the two countries. Concerning heritage, the Minister of Culture plans to set up a circuit entitled The Root of Moroccan Judaism. This will be realized through the identification and presentation of all the places of memory. The ministry wants to go even further in a perspective of giving life to these places by organizing different activities and cultural events there. In relation with the field of books, this is my field, the Ministry of Culture is considering the translation of books written by Jews of Moroccan origin, books on Judaism and Jewishness. On the other hand, a fellowship program is envisaged will encourage between the Ministry of Youth Culture between the two countries. It's a program of reciprocity and experience of trainings. There is also a final point concerning the while of bringing culture in the two universities between the two countries by organizing conferences and meetings on subjects on the common interests. Donc, there are some action of the ministry that we plan to put in place, and we remain at your disposal. We are at your disposal to enrich them and to implement them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Madame Latifa. Merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous.
C'est parfait. Merci beaucoup. Dan, do you have any questions? Are you curious about anything in terms of the Ministry of Culture's engagement and agenda in advancing the relationship?
I'm first of all, it's something we don't often think about, but it is the deeper aspects that really anchor the relationships between the two countries. And here I'm kind of curious because I know we did have relationships on different levels between Israel and Morocco beforehand, but now that we have full diplomatic ties and full normalization, I'm wondering, do we have the agreements in place, for example, for exchanges and collaborations on the ministerial level, for example, between libraries and archives, which are a critically important tool for researchers, where do you see this going in the next year, in the next 5 years?
Ça va, Madame Latifa, est-ce que vous voulez que je traduise la question?
Non, j'ai compris. Il a dit que c'est pour la première fois qu'on voit c'est-à-dire qu'il y a une relation, comment dirais-je, légiférée entre les deux pays, c'est ça? Et comment il voit la mise en place de ce programme durant les 5 prochaines années, c'est ça?
Et surtout de programmes d'échange, par exemple, entre les musées et les fondations des archives au Maroc et avec Israël. Donc, comment ça va marcher, en fait?
Alors, là, sur cette question, si je peux répondre en français et toi, tu traduis. Alors, on a échangé ce matin, Shama, sur ce qu'on fait en tant que direction du livre pour promouvoir cette culture juive au Maroc, qui est très riche d'ailleurs et qui est fortement enracinée et qui fait partie intégrante de notre culture marocaine. C'est-à-dire, moi, au ministère, à la direction du livre, nous avons un prix qui consacre chaque année les manuscrits en hébreu. Et ces manuscrits, ils sont numérisés. Et ils sont déposés à la Bibliothèque nationale et ils sont à la disposition de tous les chercheurs dans le monde entier. Donc, c'est-à-dire que ces manuscrits peuvent être consultés par n'importe quel chercheur. Et là, je pense que c'est une piste de collaboration entre nos universités et, par exemple, et la bibliothèque, par exemple, la Bibliothèque nationale d'Israël, la Bibliothèque nationale marocaine. Alors, il y a aussi, comme je vous ai dit, nous avons tout un pavillon à la Bibliothèque générale de Tétouan, qui est dédié à la culture juive, dans lequel on a pratiquement 600 titres qui sont numérisés. Donc, ces titres sont à la disposition des chercheurs. Donc, déjà, ça, c'est un premier accès direct au fonds documentaire qui concerne la culture juive ici au Maroc.
Mm.
Alors, pour
Beautiful.
la mise en place de tout ce programme, donc on est en train de travailler sur ce programme et je pense que il y a une volonté de concrétiser tout ça. Donc, il y aura un plan d'action qui va être établi et qui va définir c'est-à-dire la mise en œuvre de toutes les actions que je vous ai citées, que ce soit dans le domaine artistique, que ce soit dans le domaine de la valorisation du patrimoine, ou bien dans le domaine du livre et aussi dans le domaine d'échanges entre les jeunes des deux pays.
Okay. So to translate that roughly, Madame
Please.
Latifa was talking about the rich and really deep relationship and history of the Jews in Morocco. And that history is obviously reflected in books, and they do have an award, sort of a prize, an award for Hebrew manuscripts that they put together every year. And these manuscripts are available to the public and to researchers from all over the world. And she actually told me earlier that they're working on digitizing this collection and making it available online to researchers from all over. And they also have a pavilion in the Library of Tétouan with 600 titles that are archived and numbered. And that's also available to people all over the world. Now, in order to put this program to work, they are actually really kind of going to work to make all of this available online, but also they're working on creating new partnerships in this direction. So there's a lot going on, of course. It's going to take time because the Accords, it's just been a year of the peace accords, but they are working in that direction. And then we have one question, which is when will the ministry work on banning anti-Semitic books at the book fair in Casablanca? Donc, du coup, la question qui se pose, c'est quand est-ce que le ministère de la Culture va... Oui.
Va organiser le Salon international du livre.
Pas organisé, mais en fait, la question, c'est sur les bouquins qui sont un petit peu antisémitiques et que cette personne est déjà remarquée dans le salon du livre à Casablanca. Donc, quand est-ce que le ministère va réagir à ces bouquins, ces livres qui sont dans le marché, bien sûr, mais qui en fait qui participent à cultiver une culture de haine.
Alors, je dirais, cette année, il n'y a pas encore eu de salon. Et puis, le ministère n'a pas du tout une politique de censure vis-à-vis des ouvrages. Ça, c'est pas du tout c'est-à-dire dans la manière ou bien dans la stratégie de travail du ministère de la Culture. Mais il y a par contre, par exemple, une sélection des livres qui poussent vers la haine, qui entachent la cause nationale. Ça, c'est des livres qui ne sont pas autorisés. Mais ceci dit, notre rôle aussi, c'est de protéger le lecteur et de lui offrir des livres quand même qui transmettent des messages de paix, de tolérance et de savoir vivre ensemble. C'est-à-dire les livres qui poussent vers la haine, vers le rejet de l'autre, ça, c'est des livres qui ne sont pas fortement recommandés. Et je ne pense pas que parmi les éditeurs marocains, c'est-à-dire que je pense que les règles, elles sont respectées partout dans le monde, et y compris le Maroc, c'est-à-dire il n'y a pas de, les éditeurs marocains, quand ils partent à l'étranger, ils tâchent à présenter une bonne image de leur pays, et vice-versa aussi, les éditeurs étrangers qui viennent au Maroc, donc ils sont assez regardants sur cet aspect-là, et ils présentent, c'est-à-dire le meilleur de leur littérature et le meilleur de leur production éditoriale.
So just to translate that roughly, Madame Latifa mentioned that the Ministry of Culture doesn't really have a sort of censorship aspect, and in fact doesn't really tolerate censorship or all forms of censorship. However, hate speech is not really permitted, and they try to the best of their ability to protect readers from hate speech and instead to promote peace and tolerance and coexistence, and to put together a selection of books and manuscripts that kind of advance this vision for Moroccan society. The other thing that's important to note is that the publishers who usually sort of come to Morocco to promote their books, usually are, go through a process and are vetted, and they can't really just promote any book. So there is usually a process, and I imagine that these processes of course take time, and I would love to hear from our friend in the audience who is concerned about this book, to give us some examples so that maybe we can point the ministry and other ministries to these books. But thank you so much for your question. Appreciate it. Next, Dan is going to introduce our next panelist. Thank you so much, Madame Latifa. It was such a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you so much. So now we're happy to have with us Hisham Daoudi, art entrepreneur and president of Art Holding Morocco, founder of a celebrated auction house and of Comptoir des Mines, the Moroccan company for artworks, Diptyque magazine, decorated by His Majesty for his work in promoting Moroccan art globally. Hisham is credited as the art dealer who put Moroccan contemporary and modern art on the map. Welcome, Hisham. Good evening.
Hi, Hisham.
Can you hear
Can
us?
you hear us? Hisham, est-ce que vous nous entendez?
Okay, we're just dealing with a
Hello?
sound issue. Can you hear us?
Ooh,
We cannot hear you. Is he muted?
on n'arrive pas à t'entendre.
Maybe check with him on the chat if he's muted.
Yeah. Si tu peux, en fait, au-dessus, il y a un microphone. Je ne sais pas si tu arrives à nous entendre, mais il y a un petit microphone. Il faut cliquer dessus. Wow, that's...
It always amazes me that 2 years into everyone using different technologies, we still will always have tech troubles, but that's both the marvels and the challenges of transitioning into this digital online realm.
The stream is a very unique platform that not
It
a lot
is.
of people
It is a
use.
new platform for many of us.
So, Hisham, we can't hear you. Maybe we'll direct you to our tech support, and meanwhile move on to our next speaker while we get this issue sorted. So, Dan, would you like to introduce our next speaker, Vanessa?
Gladly. So we have our next speaker is Vanessa Polo, a singer of Moroccan Jewish repertoires, and has been described as a kind of, I'm quoting here, a one-woman roving museum of her own by the New York Times. She has a PhD on contemporary Jewish women's songs from northern Morocco, entitled Core, Role, and Function of a Forgotten Repertoire. Vanessa was a senior Fulbright scholar to Morocco and research associate of the Hadassah Brandeis Institute of Brandeis University. Now I see where you two might have connected. And in 2014, I don't know how to say it. Is it Khoya, or do you say Koya?
Khoya.
Khoya, of course. Jewish Morocco Sound Archive to collect, digitize, classify, and analyze contemporary and historical sound recording of Moroccan Jews. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Loud
we
and
can
clear.
hear you.
Wonderful to be
Vanessa.
here. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. I've missed you. It's been a long time.
Too long.
Vanessa is currently teaching at Cambridge, and so we haven't seen each other for a while. But Vanessa, we would love for you to contextualize the cultural relationship and dynamic between Israel and Morocco, as someone who's lived in Morocco, who's dedicated a lot of your time and your life and your resources to promoting Moroccan Jewish and larger Sephardic Jewish stories and history and identity really across the globe. How do you see the relationship today, and what are some of the challenges that you're witnessing in Morocco and in this context?
So first of all, I want to say that it's actually incredibly timely because I'm writing an article right now for Oxford University Press on land and earth and Adama, the idea of Adama, of earth and land, Eretz. So this combination of this rootedness into the local land where the Jews have been living for 2,000 years, right? Which is the Adama, the earth of Morocco, while simultaneously having this connection to the Eretz, to Eretz Israel, right, to the land of Israel. And how is this negotiated often through culture and through music, because of the voice and the manners that voices can actually travel across temporal and geographic spaces. So I've actually been living in the UK at Cambridge for the last 3 years. So I haven't been living in Morocco during this momentous year of, the beginning of normalization. But one of the things that I think is crucial actually for this relationship to flourish and thrive, taking into account this very rooted, long-standing relationship of Moroccan Jews to the Moroccan land, is to continue engaging with the Moroccan Jews that are in Morocco, and not just the descendants of Moroccan Jews in the whole diaspora or in Israel. But there is a deep importance of supporting, I would say, and bringing forth the richness of the cultural contribution of the Jews that have stayed on the Adama, on the earth of Morocco, all these generations. Because and the reason that I say that is because when I went to Morocco as a senior Fulbright scholar in 2007, I went there specifically to research and to record the memories and the musics and all the materials of the Jews that had not left to Spain or Canada or Israel, or because of there is a transformation that has happened outside. So I think that this is actually an incredibly historic moment to bring this knowledge, this ancestral and deeply rooted Jewish knowledge from Morocco to a wider Jewish Moroccan diaspora, and to bring it actually and to showcase it. Oh, sorry, my email. To showcase it in Israel as well, and also another thing that I think that would be incredibly interesting would be to have showcasing of Jews from Morocco and Muslims that are living in Israel. And that way we can break this binary of Jewish Muslim and recognize that there's actually been this unruptured, unbroken connection throughout millennia between these lands and between this whole region. So I think that this complexifying and demonstrating these entanglements that we often forget when we're in the middle of political discourses or tensions of the tensions that have that our generations have known in the Middle East, that then one forgets that actually it is a lot more layered, and this is an opportunity and an incredible moment to bring forward these complexities and to put them front and center so that everybody recognizes that actually we are so intermingled and so interconnected, and that our cultures and our materials and our knowledges are very, very enmeshed. And so I think that this, for me, would be one of the most amazing ways forward to really show the granular aspects and really show a very rich, interconnected, rhizomic network that actually exists instead of a linear or a binary network. I'll leave it at that.
That's incredible. And yeah, I mean, it's true. I guess we do often, I guess as a society, as peoples, we have these short-term memories, and we tend to think of where we are and not where we have been. And I think one of the beautiful things of the kind of work you're doing, the kind of work that Shama does, and the kind of things that maybe these new accords allow us to highlight, or maybe I'll say it in another way, the kind of trends that have been underway in the region that also allowed our leaders to be able to sign these kind of agreements without too much public backlash, or any public backlash, is the realization of these overlapping, interconnected relationships, and that it's not all binary or linear or moving, forwards or backwards in that sense. And so that's fantastic. And of course, we wish you a lot of success.
Yes.
in bringing
Vanessa,
this to light.
before we move on to our next speaker, I would love to, because I know your work very deeply, and I know how committed you are to the cause. And Vanessa has been living within the Moroccan Jewish community for a while, and really dedicated to reviving Moroccan Jewish history way before the Abraham Accords. So I want to know, Vanessa, what have the Abraham Accords changed in Morocco in this context, and what's been happening since Israelis started to come back in bigger numbers, because they've always come back to Morocco on a yearly basis for the Jewish festivals and music festivals, etc., and spiritual gatherings. But has anything changed? Has anything improved? Do you see challenges in that context?
I think, well, I can tell you what I've seen from afar, because I've been in Cambridge most of the time, because it's been COVID also.
Yeah.
And so I was only able to go to Morocco in August quickly, and hopefully in February I'll be able to go back if they reopen. Yeah, fingers crossed. So, but my husband, is based in Morocco, and he goes back and forth as well. So I have a lot of daily information from the inside. And I think that there's a lot of excitement in the Jewish community, which is very interesting to hear and to see. And there's a sense of, I think of a deep relief and release, because of, it was for years and for generations a difficult tension to live with this deep connection to two places, and so and all the Moroccan Jews feel very Moroccan and very deeply connected and rooted and loyal to Morocco. But many of them also have family. Some of them have their children in Israel. Some of them have their siblings and their nieces and nephews, or their parents. And so to have an official paper, basically a legal ratification that this is now okay, it has actually been a very, like a soothing balm, I think, for the Jewish community. Very exciting also about the possibilities that then this affords, that the great possibilities that it opens up for collaborations, for all sorts of cross investments, for travel. I mean, one of the things that has been amazing is people have been saying, "Ah, oh, great! Finally, we can take a direct flight. We don't have to go through Rome or Paris or Spain or so." And the idea that how amazing that all these Israelis can come freely without having this worry of the visa, which will then really bubble up a whole series of collaborations that have already been happening, that we have already been seeing. I mean, we heard the Madame Latifa from the Ministry of Culture, but I've also been involved with some people from the Mimuna Foundation who have been doing activities, and I know some of the Jewish people in the Jewish community are planning also larger events for Passover or for things like this, because now there's an opening that has been afforded. I think that one of you asked me about the challenges, I would say that it's probably important to realize that there will be bumps in the road, and that there's always at the beginning like a beautiful honeymoon period where there's something new and there's all the potential. And then once you really start to get to know each other, then you start to see, the warts and the difficulties. And Moroccans have things that are difficult, and Israelis have things that are difficult. And, they soon will recognize these in each other. And my fear is that I hope that in these moments of tension that happen between any kind of normal human relationship, that it doesn't then go into a breakdown, an accusation of, it's because you're, the other, right? And so this, I think, is really the thing to beware of and to prepare for, because I think that is a potential pitfall, that where we can kind of move into something that is not going to be where we want things to go. And I think that it's that by knowing this, then we can actually really create an example for the world, which is, I really think, what Morocco has done.
Beautiful, absolutely. And we have so much history to back that up and to really promote that kind of brand. And as you said, that's, when people become guarded and start otherizing, we will lose on a massive opportunity to almost steer the entire world in the right path. At least that's how I feel. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for joining us today. I know you're super busy and you have to leave to pick up your kids. Say hello. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your academic and practitioner perspective and context to this conversation. And let's try to get Hisham back with us if we can. Hisham, can you hear us?
Yeah, hello. Do you hear me now?
Beautiful, we can hear you.
Yeah, fine. I'm happy.
There's a lot more color behind you,
Yeah,
of
this is my
course.
house, and I wish, inshallah, I will invite you and host you soon when the
Thank you.
borders will be open, and
Fantastic. Thank you.
to
Thank you,
continue this
Hisham.
discussion here in Morocco, maybe.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hisham. Do you guys hear him? He's inviting you over. And Hisham, could you first of all introduce yourself to our audience? Because maybe some people don't know you, but Hisham is quite a personality in the
No, no,
art
no.
scene in Morocco.
I'm
And
just a simple Moroccan guy that tried to do his best to promote art in Morocco and to give
outside
chance
of
to
Morocco.
artists and outside Morocco. And
Uh,
I had opportunities in these two last decades when I started to work to show a lot of Moroccan artists, but also Arab modern artists in Morocco, French, European, and I'm still very curious to show Israeli and Palestinian artists here in Morocco. It will be my
Beautiful.
dream to host or to create residencies of artists here in Morocco and maybe to invent new dialogues between us.
We have just the right person whom we'll invite to speak right after you for that kind of residency. And she's really been working for many, many years in that direction. So this is just really meant to be. And Hisham, as an art entrepreneur who's done so much for the art scene in Morocco, where do you see the biggest opportunities in the Moroccan-Israeli relationship and through the new peace deals? Where is there a particular vision that you have for the Moroccan-Israeli sort of art partnership?
Mm, so maybe I'm not thinking that we should see the relation through the opportunities we can have. Maybe we have to spend time first to see each other, the art we produce in our country. We have to know each other. For the Jewish Moroccan community in Israel, we want to receive their kids, their sons, and to tell them what's happened in Morocco in the past decades. For the others that doesn't have any relation with Morocco, we will receive them, or we will be happy to share them, like what art means for us in Morocco. We have so many. We want to see your art, the art that has been produced in Israel. We want to understand the visual language that have been developed. We want to understand what are the main ideas. So, first of all, let's know each other. Let's see what's happened in our past history that is common or that is different. Let's talk about the things that hurt us or that make us feel like we are one family, human family, because I don't believe a lot in the politics idea. So you hear me?
Yes, we hear you well, and that was really beautiful. Thank you.
I want to tell you that I want to see my brother in humanity in Israel. What does he done this past year in art? And I want to show them their Moroccan brother what they have done in their land. That is the main point in the beginning. Before to talk about opportunities, we have to create space for communication, for meeting, for working together. Later, we will have opportunities. But the best thing to do is now to spend the quality time together and start a beautiful conversation.
That's
I
beautiful.
couldn't agree more. And what we're trying to do here with this platform in our cooperation with Sharaka Shama is to create this very space that you're talking about so that our societies and our peoples and our cultures can get to know each other. And it's been such an exciting year. We in Sharaka started a little earlier doing things between the Gulf and Israel, and now we're really excited to be able to facilitate this engagement between Morocco and Israel, and with the delegation that we hope to send to Morocco soon. It's very exciting, and I'm also curious to see what is Moroccan art. So
Yeah, I would love to know to invite an exhibition about the Holy Land. What is the meaning of a Holy Land for all of us? Because this we have the question of territories, borders concerning us. We have so much question. We have to question also. Can I continue in French a little bit?
Absolument, absolument.
Absolument. Il faut qu'on questionne la dimension du sacré dans chacune de nos cultures. Et j'aimerais que des artistes marocains, israéliens et d'autres territoires puissent inventer une exposition parce qu'au final, on partage le même sacré. Et on doit voir cette notion-là au Maroc, on doit le voir à Jérusalem, à Tel Aviv, comme on doit pouvoir le voir à Ramallah, et qu'on puisse organiser, et je suis un peu utopiste plutôt, Et on doit créer des projets parce que l'art, ça reste le meilleur de l'humanité. Et on doit créer les conditions pour faire exister un art de qualité et de le traduire aux gens. Donc moi, je serais heureux d'accueillir et de participer à des projets de ce type-là.
Shama, we can't hear you.
Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay, good. So I just
when people speak French, I can understand about half, but when you're speaking unmuted, I can't understand anything.
muted. That's a bit of a challenge. Yeah. And so I just want to translate what Hisham mentioned. He really highlighted this question of what is sacred in both cultures, and he's inviting artists to really explore that and to look at how we share the same sacredness and how we have to be able to see and to seek that sacredness in Morocco, in Israel, and in Ramallah, and to create the conditions which he says perhaps for he's utopian for believing that in that way, but to create the conditions that are necessary to really be able to create new art, new interesting art that looks at these topics that make us sort of all human, that highlight this aspect of our shared humanity. Thank you, Hisham.
Thank you
Merci.
very much.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
And welcome. Just one word,
Yeah.
because I hear your intervention concerning the Salon du Livre de Casablanca, and for most of the Moroccan, it's a shame. That some books and it had some anti-Semitic idea, and we don't recognize ourselves of course, in these books, and we also call for their censure because they should
Censorship.
Exactly. I just want to tell to the Israeli public, it doesn't represent us. It never represented us. It will never represent us. Okay, so just to be clear on that, and the culture world has nothing to do with these ideas. We believe in humanity, and that's all.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you so much, Hisham. And I want to introduce you personally to the next speaker, who has been really, really dedicated to creating those type of utopian spaces that you just mentioned. She has been really championing the contemporary art scene in Israel. She is the head of an initiative called Studio Mishlach, which is the first of its kind in Israel. It's a space dedicated to religious women, whether they are Jewish or Muslim, and really creates safe spaces for these women to come and interact with one another, learn from one another, and share spaces for art creation and
Alors,
for
je l'adore
collaboration.
déjà. Avec tout ce que tu dis, je l'adore déjà. Il faut que je la rencontre.
Hisham is saying that he's already in love with her. So, without further ado, thank you, Hisham.
Thank you.
Really, really beautiful to have you with us. And I'm welcoming Tzipi Mizrahi to join us, if she can hear us. Tzipi, hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good to have you. Good evening.
It's good to be with you. It's really an honor. It's really a pleasure to be this evening with you. So thank you very much.
The honor is ours. Thank you so much, Tzipi. And I also want to highlight.
I just wanted to say to Hisham that I'm sure he can find brothers, but a sister, I think he just found.
Yes, you guys have a lot in common. And I also would love for you to share a little bit about these initiatives that Hisham is interested in furthering in Morocco and in the region, and to talk to us a little bit about the arts residency that you have been championing that brings American artists to engage with Israeli art and Israeli artists, and to tell us a little bit about your projects in that direction in Morocco.
Okay, so I'll tell you about Studio of Our Own, which is the English name of Studio Mishlach. It was established at 2010 as a platform to promote young religious artists that all graduated in art academies. We're working for this 10 years as a collective of 45 artists, women artists. We wanted to help them to get into to success and to get into the scene, the art scene, to get recognition, also in the art scene and also back at home. They are part of, a very conservative community and society, religious society, which is not always encouraging what they're doing, and they're not consuming what they're doing. And it's hard to make a living from this profession, to be an artist. And living in conservative community is to raise, a lot of children and families. Sometimes it's really hard to do it together with an art career. So at the beginning, we were a platform for religious artists, but now we are. We're gonna. I'm gonna tell it. We are actually the first women art center in Israel, because during the years we were collaborating with so many Arab artists and Druze artists, and we saw that their obstacles are the same, just the same as our obstacle. So we open up 2020 as we got an allocation from the municipality of Jerusalem, a very ancient and unique house. We open up the first and actually the only women art center in Israel, which we're giving them a space to create their art and a gallery to exhibit it, and a hub, woman hub, artists for collaborations between the artists, and also a residency program, which is a very exciting residency here. And they're sharing and they're exhibiting and they're exposing their art to the public. We're giving them also mentoring and training, business training, and also professional training. And we did also during the years, as I said, we did so many projects with the Arab and Palestinian artists, and also women, as I will tell now. We had a very big project with a collaboration with Beta Geffen, which is a center of art and culture for Palestinian art and culture. We combined together 26 artists, Arab artists and young religious Jewish artists, all women, to work together in 3 cities in Israel. In Haifa, Lod, and Jerusalem, where 3 cities, the Jewish and Arab, lived together. And they're working together for 1 year, and they were exhibiting 3 very big exhibitions in those cities. Actually, the last summarizing exhibition took place at the International Women's Day last year at the President Residency. It was a very unique project, and you can see how we have a lot in common in many aspects. Another project that we have during the year is the Embroidery Project, the Tatriz, which is since 2015 we are meeting together women from East Jerusalem, which they are doing craft. They're doing embroidery and knitting. We're meeting them as women artists also to we want to doubt the reduction that craft has in opposed the high fine arts. So those artists said, and we said that the craft is no, it's not less than fine art, because this tatriz, this embroidery, is a piece of history. They are bringing their knowledge about their heritage and about their tradition, ethnical, geographical identities, within this embroidery. And for years and years, we were meeting together and exhibiting together, and to see how all those craft skills usually were feminine skills. Usually women did that, and they actually preserved the identity of the family and heritage knowledge through these patterns. And you could see so many Israeli and Arab Palestinians women doing things together with this embroidery, and showing each other how is the heritage and the tradition in both sides, and how it goes from generation to generation. It's a very, very unique project that also got recognition from the municipality, and had a very big appearance in the public sphere last year in the Midtown Jerusalem, which the Arab group took part of urban knitting project in Kikar Zion in mid Jerusalem. I must say that those two big projects, it's like I think about myself that to find also qualified artists, or to find some women in the villages in Morocco to show the Palestinians and the Arab East Jerusalem women, how are they preserving their tradition through this patterns of tatris, of embroidery, or whatever craft that they are doing in the heritage of the Moroccan society. We actually also had many artists, fine art artists, that did a lot of works about their roots in the Moroccan ancestors we had during the years. I must say that both projects were supported by the American Embassy. The American Embassy, I'm also alumni of the exchange program of the State Department of the Embassy, of American Embassy, and they are really supporting projects that combine and make about coexistence also. I actually had a colleague on that tour in 2016 in the United States, from Morocco, from the art scene in Morocco. His name is Mustafa Grib, and he was the manager of the African Art Museum in Marrakesh. And I think in a lot of ways, and a lot of aspects, we have really a lot in common. We can really think about residency program, or hosting an exhibition that goes from Morocco to Israel and again. And a lot of projects can be really a lot of plans, and very, very special ideas can be fulfilled in those collaborations between Morocco and Israel.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tzipi. And I want to confirm two things. I have met with representatives from the American Embassy who do work with Tzipi and support these kind of initiatives. And they have communicated that they are ready to support similar residencies and programs and exchange programs that advance artistic collaboration and cultural cooperation in the region, and specifically programs that really champion women's arts. And Kim Natoli, who heads the American Center from the American, which is part of the American Embassy in Jerusalem, did want to participate with us today to assert that very same sentiment, but unfortunately couldn't make it today. But she will join us next week on our youth and entrepreneurship event. And the other thing I wanted to highlight is that I have seen Tzipi's work firsthand. I was in Jerusalem in November. And in fact, she invited me, along with an artist friend of mine, Lenore Mizrahi, to participate and to showcase some of my work in studio of her own. And I got to meet Palestinian women from East Jerusalem who also use the space and who also co-create with Jewish women and look at contemporary arts and photography and mixed media. And it was really exciting to be there and to get to experience that and to get to speak to a diverse group of women at the studio. Thank you so much, Tzipi. Really loved having you with us. And I think you have a lot of fans. So people are asking if you have a page on Facebook that they can follow and how they can get in touch with you.
Yes, we also have a Facebook page and also a website, a studio of our own.
Studio of Her Own. There you go. So go to studioofherown.com, correct, Tzipi?
Yes.
Beautiful. Studioofherown.com and get in touch with them, find their email. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us, Tzipi. Next, I would like to welcome the cultural attaché at the Embassy of Israel in Rabat, Miriam Leser El Maleh. If you can hear me, beautiful.
Yes, I hear you.
We can see you. Miriam, thank you so much for joining us. You look amazing, as always.
You too. Great.
Thank you. I know Miriam actually had another event right before on Holocaust Remembrance Day. So thank you so much for making the time tonight to join us. And to start, as an Israeli and a Moroccan Jew, as a Moroccan who grew up in Morocco until the age of 18, and who then moved to Israel, how was it like for you to live through the signing of the Accords and then to move to Morocco to work on advancing cultural cooperation specifically? What was that moment like, and how has it been for you over the last year or so?
Yes, thank you, Shama, to give me the opportunity to talk in this arena. And you talked about my identity. So every day since I'm here, I can't tell you how proud I am to present myself in ministries, in all the people here, as a Jewish Amazigh Israeli Moroccan. So imagine how is their reaction. So yeah, to be honest, I think I'm at the right place at the right moment. That's how I felt when I got this mission and the opportunity to come here in Morocco. It's really feeling great to know that not only I have an added value working at the embassy, but also that I am in a way back home. And home means feeling good, feeling safe, feeling where you belong. So in a way, when I left Morocco at the age of 18, I grew up here in Casablanca, and back here 30 years after, the country has changed, Morocco has changed, but I am changed also. But I can bring here all the modest knowledge and experience I acquired in Israel. So for me, it's a great opportunity. I feel that I serve this mission, my country. I serve my country, Israel, but also I serve Morocco at the same time. I really feel that it's my duty, and it's a blessing to give back also to Morocco, my native country that gave me so much, that made me who I am as a child, that gave me so much as a young student. Gave me its culture, which is totally mine now. Even when I'm in Israel, I'm a Moroccan, and it gave me its colors, his culture of living together, and that is so unique to this country. So I am who I am now, thanks to Morocco, and Israel has just completed the work. Now Morocco is completing now the polishing of this final work. My mission as the embassy at the embassy is really to promote partnerships in the fields of culture and civil society. Together with that, I'm also the ambassador assistant. Together with that, I'm the only one French-speaking person, and together with that, I'm here for only 3 months. So it took me 1 month only to read all the mails that came in the embassy for the past month. So imagine it has been very challenging. It still is. I try to answer all the demands, all the requests, from both sides, from Israel and from Morocco, in the fields of culture and civil society. It means movies, music, festivals, dance, sport, and of course Jewish heritage, both tangible and intangible, ancestral and contemporary heritage. What I've been doing since then, the main realization for me is that we have achieved the signing of the agreement between both ministries of culture. So we are just waiting now for the ratification of this agreement at the government, the Moroccan government. It's supposed to be very soon. The second realization is that we have also an agreement of co-production of films between the two countries. It is a very good sign, and we hope that it will be also signed between us very soon. This is mainly what we have the main realization, but we have a lot of projects in the track. I'm glad to say that we have established 2 weeks reunions and appointments with the working sessions with the Ministry of Culture. Every 2 weeks, I'm in the office, and the young staff of the minister is working with us tightly in order to promote the projects that are coming to our desk, and also that the Minister of the Culture wants to promote. So we have a really, really good relations, and soon we will have some major projects going on and to be realized very soon.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you for joining us and for contextualizing the relationship, both from a personal angle and a professional one. And I totally see why you're glowing. You are completely aligned with your mission in life. So thank you again for joining us. And next, it is my pleasure to introduce Rami Ozeri, who is the head of the Jerusalem Biennale. Rami, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Shama. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, Rami. So Rami and I have gotten to know each other very well. The first time was in 2019 when I participated in an exhibition in Jerusalem that was actually dedicated to Moroccan art called Ziyara and Moroccan wisdom. And we also got to work together on co-producing the first Emirati-Israeli joint exhibition focusing on calligraphy art recently in November for the Biennale. Rami, good to have you with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about where do you see the Moroccan-Israeli sort of cultural collaboration sort of coming into place for all of us now that there are official peace accords, and what are some of the changes? Because obviously you guys have pushed for Moroccan art before the Accords in 2019, and it was challenging, and I remember those days. And so, what do you see today as the real potential, and what is still untapped, and what do you, as the head of the Biennale, want to see happen in real life?
Well, yeah, you mentioned Ziara, and it's true. We had 22 artists, Moroccan artists from all over the world. 5 or 6 of them were really from Morocco, but then all the others came from different places around the world. Moroccan artists that live and are active in Canada or in Belgium or in the Emirates. They were all sent their works to Jerusalem in 2019, and it was very challenging back then. We had some really rough criticism from some of the Arab art world about this collaboration. It was before the peace accords, of course, and I think all in all, it was a huge success. Leaving the criticism aside, there was a big audience, both in the Israeli side and in the Moroccan side, that really enjoyed this encounter. They really enjoyed this this meeting point between Moroccan artists from all over the world coming to Jerusalem, speaking about ziyara, speaking about visiting holy places, and I think speaking about the option of doing things together, and not being intimidated by some people that do not like those engagements. And I think this gave us a big push to continue and pursue channels for collaboration with the Arab world in general, with Morocco, with the Emirates. I'm planning the next time to do something with Yemen, which is a huge, huge challenge. And now I think having the peace accords in place just makes it much more natural for us to continue and develop those relationships. And I think relationship between nations should be like taking place in different channels, and the culture channel is so important. I hope that people in the policy making places understand this, and what you've been doing, Shama, is so important. You've been creating channels of communication, channels of connection between different nations. It's Morocco, Israel, and the Emirates through the art and through the culture, and I think that gives a very unique kind of communication. It's not like doing something commercial. It's not like doing something based on tourism. When you do culture, you touch points that are never been touched. And I think artists are great bridge makers, and we should use it as much as we can.
Thank you so much, Rami. I appreciate that. And thank you for making the time to join us today. If you do want to get in touch with Rami, just look up the Jerusalem Biennale. Rami is always up for an adventure and for putting together a challenging exhibition. So get in touch with Rami. And next, I would
Thank
like
you so much. It was great to be part of it.
Thank you, Rami. And next, I would like to introduce a dear friend, singer, songwriter, Marc Basi, who is a Ladino and Sephardic musician. And she's from Jerusalem, but with a Moroccan mother. According to her Moroccan Jewish grandfather, he would say the blood remembers, meaning that before all of this, her ancestors came from Sfarad, from Spain, and so her connection to Andalusia and to Moroccan and North African culture remained very, very strong and is expressed, therefore, passionately through her music. Marc, can you see me?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, beautiful.
Yes, beautiful.
Beautiful. I feel
Beautiful.
reunited with my
I
sister.
feel reunited with my sister.
There's
Yes,
a
me
bit of
too.
an echo.
There's a bit of an echo.
So
Okay.
So
I'll just ask you
I'll
maybe to
just
introduce
ask you
yourself
maybe
and
to
to tell
introduce
us a little
yourself
bit
and to tell
about
us a
the
little bit
Kahina
about the
project.
Kahina project.
Okay. So, as Shama said, I'm a singer and a composer from Jerusalem, and I take my music and my repertoire all over the world. I sing in Sephardic, in a liturgic Moroccan hymns that I learned from my grandfather. And my recent project has been about Berber music, about the Berber queen El Kahina, to whom I dedicated a show recently in the Oud Festival of Jerusalem. And it's songs that I've collected for a long time from the Amazigh culture, and specifically from the Sousse region of Morocco. And I've put together a concert dedicated to Dahia El Kahina. Her character has intrigued me, her bravery, and the fact that they say she might be Jewish. So I dedicated the concert for her, along with songs from my other albums in Sephardic. And my Moroccan grandfather has recently passed away, which has been very sad for me. I was very attached to him. So I also sang some Moroccan piyutim for him and dedicated for him in the concert.
Beautiful. And
Beautiful. And
could you
Mom,
tell us, I'm sorry about the echo, but could you tell us a little bit about why it was important for you to talk about Amazigh, Berber culture and identity in Israel? Is this a component that you feel has been represented in the Israeli sort of cultural space? And would you be interested in showing the Kahina project in Morocco? I know that you are going to Morocco in June as part of the Andalusian orchestra concert, which is another great initiative championed by our friend Jacob Ben Simon in Ashdod. And they have been extremely dedicated to promoting Moroccan culture and Andalusian culture. But would you be interested in also showing the Kahina project in Morocco and tell us a little bit about what it has meant for you personally to be able to kind of transcend these spaces and to kind of go back and forth and to unite people with essentially what is their past outside of political rhetorics, but really just from kind of a soulful perspective through music. The floor is yours.
Okay. So basically, my connection to Amazigh music is a little bit like my connection to Sephardic music. I know that from my mother's side we're Sephardic, and also we are also Berbers from my great grandmother. This is a recent discovery of mine. So again, the blood remembers. And El Kahina specifically is a strong woman. And to her story, I very much related. It's very untold. The feminine heroes are not very much spoken about. So that is why I decided to dedicate the concert for her. I met a woman, many women in Israel who speak the language still. They're Jewish Berber, and nobody has ever interviewed them about this language and about the songs that they remember from childhood. So when I played them some of the field recordings that I found, they were absolutely thrilled. So I collected these songs and gave them new arrangements, new life, because their beauty is beyond time. And I think in a time that everything seems so temporary, this music has a timeless quality about it. And I try to bring my voice and these songs
everywhere that I go, to be true to my identities, to where I come from, and to where my ancestors come from. Of course, I would love to dedicate another concert in Morocco to Dahia El Karina, to your question. That would be a big thing. Yes, I think she deserves more respect, and so does this culture. It's absolutely amazing.
And where will you be, and what are your dates in Morocco, just so people can actually go to your show?
Well, actually, this is not yet confirmed. So I know it's in June, and it's a festival, and it's going to be in 2 cities. So I will, as soon as I know, I will send you, Shama, and you can also post it, and I will of course put it on my Facebook. You can see my Facebook with my artist page, Marc Basi, and my website also, morcarbasi.com. And also, there's going to be a concert series in June in many cities in Israel, if anyone is around and would like to attend, with the Israeli Orchestra of Ashdod.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mo. I know that your voice and your throat is recovering, so I won't put you under the spotlight. But please check out Mo's music. It's really, really beautiful.
Shama, if you're here in Israel during one of those concert series, I'd be glad to go. I've long been a fan of Moroccan music, of Andalusian music. Actually discovered these kind of music, this type of music, well over 20 years ago, before a lot of people who, I'm not Moroccan, I just kind of discovered it and really liked it. So I'd be happy to go, and I'll look up when the concerts are more. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you so much for joining us, Marc. Thank you. And with that, our event on cultural cooperation
That's right.
comes to an end. Thank you so much for joining us today. And next week, we will be talking about youth and entrepreneurship. So make sure you join us for that one. And if you have any questions, obviously reach out to us. Thank you so much also for all the questions today and all the comments and the beautiful, beautiful comments that really highlight the shared heritage between Muslims and Jews in Morocco. We see them. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can't wait to one day visit Morocco and get to explore all of these things together, but of course also explore the artists here in Israel who are translating it and interpreting it from this side, and the people with the shared heritage who are doing that. So I know this is a specific topic that's very near and dear to you, Shama, so thank you for putting all of this together. We ask, you're welcome to follow Sharaka's social media sites, Shama's social media sites. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for websites. This video will also be on YouTube if you want to share it. I remind all of our listeners and our viewers that Sharaka is a nonpartisan, non-politically affiliated, and not-for-profit organization. And we are working to shape a new Middle East together with strategic partners from across the region. So if you like what you saw, you wish to help us expand and support these efforts in any possible way, we invite you to contact us. And if you want to be a part of advancing peace and cooperation in the region, our email is also always info@sharakang.com. Thank you so much, Shama.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you to our audience.
Yes, and thank you to all of our amazing speakers tonight, and look forward to next week on February the 3rd, same time, 8 p.m. Israel, 7 p.m. Morocco, 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, where we will dive into youth and entrepreneurship. Have a fantastic evening, everybody.
Good evening.